Hi, welcome to Mercurious Being. I am Amy Jensen and I'm here with your astro update for today's full moon in Gemini. I have been compiling information. I was going to shoot this over the weekend and everything just kind of felt dead. So I'm like, I'm not inspired. No reason, just adding words of non-inspiration out into a world that does not need more non-inspiration. Anyway, so what started coming to me in my vast and varied pile of material was really just this. I kept going back to the mutable square and the mutable T-square that's happening at this lunation, and then into mutable elements. And so we'll start there and we'll just see where we go. There are a lot of detours along the way with this path. So we'll just dig into it. And I just want to say, man, the sun is low here, as of course, because we're nearing the solstice, but I've had to adjust the blind several times. So I know there's kind of a weird angle behind me, but I think my face will be okay and I shouldn't have to do this thing unless I just happen to do that thing. Anyway, hello, and you can see where my mind is going today. It's racing. It's a Wednesday, ruled by Mercury, right? We're off to the races. And this is the chart, again, for tonight's full moon. And depending on where you are in the world, it could be like that. So don't really take the houses situation into consideration. What we have is, we've got Mars and the moon in Gemini. So the full moon in Gemini with Mars, I have 6 minutes away. Okay, so super, super close. And then, of course, it's a full moon, so the moon is opposing the sun in Sagittarius. There we go. And then we have Venus, 11 degrees away from the sun, but still in the ballpark. But we really have Venus and Mercury pretty snugly together in the heavens. And then both the sun and the moon are squaring Jupiter and Neptune. And really Neptune has a closer square to Mercury, but elemental wise, this is what is coming to me. And as you can see, there's an empty leg to this T-square, and it would be here in Virgo. Let me just remove my finger, which is ruled by Mercury. So Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini. And anytime there's a T-square, so like I said, the sun squaring the moon, Sagittarius squaring Gemini, opposing. Both of those squaring Pisces, there's a lot of built up, like kind of a stagnation or a stronghold of energy that it's just like kind of stuck in between there. Usually then there's like a little, in this case, I'm going to say Saturn has a nice trine to the moon. I'll just look at the chart. I won't show it to you so you can't see. So Saturn has a nice trine to the moon. So that's kind of like the escape valve to let some of the steam or pressure escape. And I'll talk a little bit about that. So Virgo also being that empty space of the T-square, and putting our energies into Virgoan type endeavors will help also release that pressure valve. Okay, so at the last lunation, at the new moon of Sagittarius, we had Mercury and Mars out of bounds. And so I think I mentioned at that time, so they're a little above or below kind of the regular path of the sun. So they're out of the vision of the monarch. They're just a little wilder, they're a little stronger, they're going to behave a little erratically. And that, again, those out of bounds functions kind of make us do things a little differently. We're forced to do things a little differently. And it can be a little bit of an outlaw type energy because, no one's watching. The king and the queen aren't watching. The inner monarch, outer monarch is not paying attention. The parents are gone for the night. So what's happening at home, right? This lunation, we have not only Mercury and Mars out of bounds, we have the moon and Venus out of bounds. So, that's a party, that's a house party going on, right? So not only are the moon and Mars conjunct, they are parallel, and not only are the Venus and Mercury conjunct, they are also parallel. But with those parallels of declination, we have contraparallels. So we have the moon and Mercury contraparallel, and then we have Venus and Mars contraparallel. So Venus, as you know, would rules the heart center, rules the feminine quality of like the centripetal force, the drawing in force, the embodiment force, and then Mars ruling the navel chakra, and it's more the outgoing energy. So those are contraparallel, so they're opposing each other in a little different situation. And then the same with Mercury, which rules the mind, and the moon, which rules our emotions. Those are also contraparallel. So there's a lot of oppositional, we'll just go back to that, energy at this time, besides just having it be a full moon. All right, it is a bowl-shaped chart, and the sun is the leading edge of that bowl shape, and Mars is the trailing edge. The cutting edge in a bowl-shaped pattern is the leader. So we're really being led by this Sagittarius energy, and I remember mentioning at the last lunation video that it was kind of a gentle initiation into the Sagittarius energy, but now I'm really expecting a full blossoming and really a forceful or gathering of energy movement with the Sagittarius energy. Mars at the trail and conjunct the moon, of course, the lunation. But it's interesting because this Mars-Sun opposition is the midpoint of the whole Mars and Scorpio cycle, started back in October of last year. And the Mars cycle is about 2.5 years, and we're at the point where, so it started at its inception with the conjunction of Mars with the Sun in Scorpio, and bringing up all of those hidden things, right? And asking us to reclaim our masculine, again, using that gender term as a that centrifugal force, the outpouring of our energy and our agency and our assertiveness into the world. But while doing so, looking under into any hidden corners, under things, exposing things out in the world that are not aligned with that use of power. Does that make sense? All right, so at this time though, so really close to the full moon, the moon is actually eclipsing Mars. So this is happening at the same time that the full moon is happening. And then really on Earth here, we are experiencing these two masculine energies, the energy of Mars and the hot energy of the sun, the red hot energy of Mars and the, huge sun star energy that's the whole center of our solar system. So we're really in the middle of that opposition. Okay, so that said, there may be or have you may be experiencing or have experienced recently or will be experiencing some anger coming out, okay? Some unexpressed anger, some repressed anger, and some resentment that is coming to the surface because of this Mars. Anger is never a pleasant emotion or experience. However, it really is a vehicle to air things out, as we know. If you are a conflict-averse person, such as myself, and have a little fear surrounding anger, go for it. I'm giving myself and you permission to get angry, to express your anger, in the way that, as I said, of airing things out. It's in Gemini, Mars is. And again, usually Mars spends about 6-7 weeks in a sign. And because of this retrograde period, it is spending up until, no, I don't have the date with me, but it's up until March. It's 7 months at any rate that Mars will be in Gemini. Gemini, again, Gemini is the throat chakra, ruled by Mercury. So we just have this opportunity for, a whole 7 months. That's a long time to really dig into communication and speech. And again, what are we repressing? What are we holding as resentments? Resentment holding is not a very healthy energy pattern. Letting it go and surrendering, which would be the Pisces aspect of this, really truly is the medicine for that. And then there's always that but they don't know what they did, but, well, again, you can air it out, but they still may never know what they did. However, you need to communicate it and express it and air it out, and then let that Pisces energy of dissolving and letting it go, and you have done your part. And then actions will come forward from that airing out, and will dictate the new path forward. Okay, I think that's where I'm going with that. The Virgo energy of discernment. So besides, okay, I'll go into the Saturn too. So the Saturn energy, trining the moon and Mars. So like I said, that release valve is really doing the work. You will be rewarded for that. So airing it out, doing the work. So not only just getting angry, but journaling about it. What are your, what have you said or not said in the situation, right? That can definitely be part of it. What is it? No one can respond to a request that you haven't made, so why would you be mad at somebody not understanding what you mean if you haven't expressed what you mean? So do the work however that is coming up in your communication channels, and you will be rewarded. Gemini also has that energy of the twins. It has the energy of two sides. So really looking at both sides. And again, as one expresses, giving the other the permission to also express. And sometimes we hold back on that because maybe we don't want to hear what somebody else has to say, because that might mean that there have to be changes, right? There's that aspect of it too. It's like if everyone's really honest and saying what you need to say, there are going to have to be changes that are made. But isn't that the whole point, right? Nothing does stay the same. We are in this energy of modulation in form and matter the whole time we're here on Earth. So why do we hold on to, one spoke of the wheel, right? Oh, this one's really good. This one feels great. I'm happy here. Well, there's always this modulation of matter where feelings of fullness, everything's great, feelings of yearning, oh, everything's horrible, right? It's always modulating. So we're learning about ourselves in this modulation. Okay. So getting back to the Virgo energy of being able to then take all this Gemini communication and everything that's coming up, be grounded in your body. And this always sounds so simple, and I know I've made jokes about this, or some dear folks and I joke about the basicness of many people's advice about, self-care, just drink water, Well, it is sometimes that basic though. There is something about being grounded in your body. So it's not super glamorous, right? But it's brilliant in its simplicity. And when you open up to the simplicity of it, it's actually quite mind-boggling. The small amount of self-care that you could give yourself, the getting enough rest, the taking your time, the being grounded, walking outside, drinking water, all of those things are really small gifts that add up, and they add up especially over time. And they're huge gifts, because what service are you to the world? Of course, Virgo is a lot about service. If you're not serving yourself in that way, I mean, if you're just a head full of thoughts on a body doing the head's wishes, and now I just came to mind, I think it was a Kriyananda saying that the mind is a wonderful servant but a terrible master. And I'm sure well, I have experienced that, where the mind just wants to keep going, writing checks that the body can't cash, right? We're not here to do that. That's so terrible and unkind to ourselves. You know, so some of these things are really basic, but then blossom into these spiritual teachings that, man, you know, would you tell somebody else that you loved to go out there and just run themselves ragged? No, you would not. So why do we do that to ourselves? And especially at this time of holiday seasons, the season of light, however one celebrates that, you know, it turns into this pursuit of unattainable perfection and advertising. And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't even the Santa Claus figure, okay, I could be way off base here, but wasn't it created for a Coca Cola ad? I should do my homework. I can do my homework on that, and I'll add it to the comments below. But that speaks something about this picture perfect, very materialistic aspect of this season that it's become, and then the innate and resulting imperfection of the reality of everyone's lives in comparison to whatever advertising one might see on television. You know, everyone knows the holiday season can be filled with all kinds of surprises and emotions and melancholy, because we not only are celebrating all the wonderful people who are with us in our lives, whether they're friends or families or associates, to really feeling the loss and absence of all of those who are no longer with us, or relationships that are no longer what they used to be. But there again, that just speaks to this modulation of time, of fullness, like, oh my God, I'm here with all these people I love so dearly, to yearning, oh my God, I'm here without the person who I love so dearly. So anyway, so again, just a mark of gentleness to ourselves at this season of make it special and full of light for you and whomever you're with, but in the way that speaks to you and is full of love and gentleness and kindness to you. And it's full of fun and joy and light. Kind of the point, right? So I'm just going to switch a little bit to the elements because we've already touched on that a bit. So we have mutable fire, Sagittarius, mutable air, Gemini, mutable water, Pisces, and mutable earth. And I kind of went into this feeling of really the rhythm of all of these things. The rhythm of water, and Pisces water, of course, would be oceanic, you know, the waves of the ocean rolling in and rolling out, but also the energy of water in our dreams and the subconscious mind or the collective unconscious. So there's a lot of deep waters involved in this lunation. Water also cleanses, whether we're bathing in a salt bath, salt water, or drinking enough water, again, and also doing that, you know, intending with water that I do forget of, you know, just holding your glass of water and thinking of filling it with love or balance or whatever it is that you're seeking. And then, you know, making that to this beautiful ritual of drinking water and nourishing yourself, like simple, you know, 30-second ritual, right? but just bringing it and also bringing good thoughts into it. So coming back to that Gemini energy. So we go from the rhythm of the water, also the sacral chakra, where this the sun is at, and the sun and Jupiter and Neptune. So Pisces and Sagittarius are in the sacral chakra, so moving from the rhythm of the water, and I guess where I went from there was, so when you breathe, you can feel it when you're sitting down, you can feel it when you're lying down, and especially if you bend your knees. If you're lying down and you bend your knees and you kind of tent your knees together in constructive rest position, if you just allow yourself to come into your breath and let your notice the breath starts rocking the pelvis a bit. When you inhale, the pelvis tilts away from you a little bit, or tilts away from the floor, and exhales, the waters. The pelvis tilts back toward the floor. So you really feel that wave of breath in the pelvis at the same time. Again, second 30-second ritual for the class, whatever this is, our update, right? Okay, the third would be the earth rhythm. So I was thinking about that as far as, the mutable earth. The earth rhythm would again be involving self-care, being grounded in the body, but also the rhythmic aspect be walking or dancing somewhere where you feel that beat. It also could be drumming if you are into drumming at all, but feeling the rhythm of mutable earth. And then the rhythm of the mutable fire is an energy of purification. It's really fire consumes, fire seeks, fire needs air, but it also needs earth, it needs wood or paper to burn, or of course candles, right? Lighting candles. And I don't know if you live in a place where you can have a little bonfire or you have a little fireplace, but you can always write intentions on there, or things you'd like to give up or release or surrender, and just release them into the fire is a wonderful little 30-second ritual. All right, so the fire, though, I really came back to candles and lights, and of course the season of light, and why we decorate our house in lights, and especially if you live in the northern hemisphere and far north up here in Minnesota, where we don't have as much light at this time. Having people light up their yards and light up the homes just does bring a lot of joy, and it also connects back to that childhood joy of the season and that sense of belief and faith, which is also something that kind of came forward with this because of the Pisces and Jupiter and Neptune energy, but also the sun in Sagittarius. There's a lot about believing. And so getting back to feeling that there is like an energy of support. All right, sorry about that. I had to swipe up a notification, and in a moment I was thinking, was I not recording at all? But I was, so I'm back. So at this season, too, getting into this Sagittarius energy of belief and hope and trust, that there is something to believe in and something beyond ourselves. And again, just kind of coming into that idea that we are supported, and that sometimes we just forget we are, right? Forgetfulness is exile, redemption, or remembrance is redemption. And I will find out where I found that quote. Just allowing ourselves during this season of light to slow down, really come into your own sacred rhythm, I would say, okay? One that it does involve rest and relaxation, one that does involve feeling this sense of wonder and joy in the mundane, in the everyday life. Like, you know how it is after you're sick, and you're sick and you feel so horrible, and then when you are not sick anymore, everything is a miracle. I just remember the recently sick, and I was like, oh, I can, food tastes good. Like, wow, you can nourish your body with this food. It's not just, it just brings that sacredness back because it's really special again. So I guess that's what I'm looking for, talking about, is just finding that something that's special again, something that's sacred, the miraculous in the mundane. And I really also feel very strongly going into that Virgo energy of not allowing yourself to feel pushed. So establishing boundaries, giving yourself time to speak, time to rest, time to act, time to deliberate. And then as I wrote the word deliberate, I was like, oh, what's the etymology of that? So DE is completely or down from, and liberate is to balance or make level, from the word Libra, which is a pair of scales, as you know, a balance. So really finding a state of balance within ourselves, and from that state of balance and the mundane, daily care and love that we can give to ourselves,